Today we're going to talk about how to add and subtract our rational expressions. So before we do that, I just want to talk about how to add and subtract fractions in general. So we have this real simple one, 2/3 plus 5/18. And remember that if we want to add fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So we're looking at 3 and 18 and trying to decide what's going to be the denominator between those. And hopefully you see it's going to be 18. So our goal is to have both of those be 18. Now this fraction does not need to change. So what we need to think about is what are we going to multiply 3 by to get to that 18? And clearly we need to multiply by 6. So we'll multiply by 6 top and bottom, and this first fraction becomes 12/18. And then 12/18 plus 5/18 is 17/18. Okay, so common denominators. We've done this before with fractions. So now we're going to do this with rational expressions, okay, so things that have x's. So again, in order to add and subtract these, we need common denominators. So we'll walk through these real carefully. So on number 1, where we have our denominators are 2x cubed and 8xy squared. So first, we're going to think about the number. So between 2 and 8, we need to have an 8 in the denominator. That is going to be our goal. So in order to turn that 2 into an 8, we're going to need to multiply top and bottom by 4. Okay, so far so good. Now we need to look at the x's. On the first fraction, we have x cubed, and on the second fraction, we have an x. So we're going to go with the highest exponent. Our common denominator needs to be x cubed. Now, this first fraction has an x cubed. The second fraction only has an x. So in order to get an x cubed, we're going to have to multiply this one by x squared, because now you can see that x times x squared will give us that x cubed. And then the last thing that we need to think about is the y's. The first fraction doesn't have any y's. The second fraction has a y squared, so that's what we're going to need. So we'll need a y squared here. So we'll need to multiply this fraction by y squared, top and bottom. Okay. Oh, we forgot to multiply this in x squared, top and bottom. Okay, so make sure whatever you're doing to the bottom, you're also doing to the top. So now that we know what our common denominator is, our first one here, our first fraction is going to be 12y cubed. And our second one will be 5x squared z. And now that we have common denominators, we can add these. Remember, the denominator stays. The numerator, those are not like terms, so you're going to have to write them separately. Okay, so we get 12y cubed plus 5x squared z. All right, let's take a look at another one of these. So we want to get common denominators here. So first, I'm going to think about the numbers, 16 and 5. Not much you can do there, so I guess we'll just multiply them together. 80. I'm going to need 80 on this. So I'm going to need to multiply this by 5, top and bottom, and this by 16, top and bottom. Okay, and that's going to give me 80. Okay, we have an a cubed on the second one, so we're going to need that in the denominator. So that means we're going to need to multiply by a cubed over here, top and bottom. And then we have a b squared and a b. So we're going to need b squared. This one already has a b squared, and this one we need to multiply by b, top and bottom. So that is our common denominator. So in the numerator, on this first fraction, it looks like I have 15a to the 5th. And in the second fraction, I think it's 128bx. Oops, I forgot to write squared here. Okay, so my common denominator is 80a cubed b squared. And then the numerator, those are not like terms, so you're just going to write them separately like that. Okay, so that's how we add and subtract. We'll do this with a little bit more complicated ones in the next video.